So I just learned this morning about the death of Sinead O'Connor, who obviously is such a huge icon in the world. You know, her music, her voice, and the way she lived and what she stood for has had, I think, an incredible influence on the world and feminism. And I'm just feeling so much grief hearing about her death, and particularly about the circumstances of her death, because her son died by suicide just over a year ago. And I know that they have not revealed the cause of her death yet, but what is known is that she was in very, very, very deep grief over the loss of her son and the legacy of the intergenerational trauma, right? Her mother, so the song that really made her super famous on her second album, Nothing Compares to You, which was a cover. She says that she was thinking about her mother in that song, and I didn't know that. I always thought she was talking about some guy. But no, her mother had actually died shortly before that album was released, and her mother was extremely abusive, and so obviously she had a very complex relationship with her mother and struggled with her own mental health stuff for her whole life. And just the way that even if we're doing our best as parents, when we're struggling with mental health stuff, it has an impact on our kids. Like, how can it not, right? It's like one nervous system to another. And even if we're, offering nothing but pure love to our kids, that nervous system imprint of the trauma that we're carrying is passed on. And so, it's just so tragic. And I know that a lot of you out there are dealing with major loss in terms of, losing children, losing partners, as well as many other types of grief, which are of course all valid. But I really want to speak to today losing someone who we're deeply attached to, and attached in the sense of, I use that word as in like it's a healthy thing. It's good to be attached to our people who we're closest to, our kids, our partners. But there's of course something that happens in our attachment system when we lose that person, when they're no longer with us. It's like tearing, our nervous system apart, right? It's literally can feel like that. And it's known in many different traditions that this is the case, and so much so that in many different indigenous traditions, and I learned this from the Cherokee lineage, that it's common practice to actually recommend that people, when they've lost someone who they were deeply bonded with, that they actually get in freezing cold water every single day for a year and a day. And the reason for that is because it's said that our souls are so bonded to the people who we're the closest with that when they cross over to the other side, it's literally like we get pulled along with them, right? And reading about Sinead O'Connor's experience, she actually describes that. She says since the loss of her son, she feels like she's in Bardo with him, right? And I think energetically, like that is actually what's happening with our souls. And yet living our lives and staying on this side, is actually how we can really celebrate life, right? And really celebrate that, like really honor their death by staying here and living, right? So it's not meant for us to follow them, right? Eventually we will, right, in good time, but when it's not our time, it's not our time. And yet it can really take some work to actually stay here when we're going through this experience. And so getting in cold water every day, by doing that, what's happening is you're actually cutting the cord between you, not the cord of love, right? That cord will never be cut, but you're cutting the cord of attachment that actually keeps them stuck in the Bardo and actually keeps us being pulled into the Bardo, right? So when that attachment piece is there, we actually have to let it go so that they can move on to where they're going to, the journey that they're traveling now, and so that we can stay here, right, where we're meant to be, because otherwise both can end up in the Bardo long term. And that's where we end up with the hungry ghost type situation, which Martine Prechtel and Gabor Mate talk about a lot, and is also obviously comes from the Tibetan Buddhist tradition and understanding of the death process. So just wanted to share that and share that practice of getting in cold water every day. You know, if you can get into obviously wild water and nature, that's ideal, but even getting in the cold shower, you know, every day or multiple times a day if you need to bring you back to the present moment, right? And help to cut those cords. And this is a, you know, sacred practice, sacred ritual that you can do. So I offer that to you, and I have lots of other offerings, programs, one-on-one work, trainings and support, retreats, this kind of thing. So definitely check out the link in my bio, check out my website, get in touch, get on my newsletter, and reach out if you would like more support. All right, blessings.